Starving kids in Gaza, that is war propaganda, according to pro-Israel influencers. It's not real. You can all just stop worrying about this, they say. And look, I would love to. The idea of Palestinians being tortured into starvation is a constant assault on our psyche. Wouldn't it be great just to tell yourself, this is fine, and ignore it? And of course, here at Redacted, we're no stranger to propaganda. That's kind of our business. Our bread and butter is decoding propaganda. So is this starvation stuff just propaganda from Hamas? Well, that's what the Free Press says. They say, look, this image of starving children is propaganda. They base it on this image of this little boy, which surely you've seen in your feed. His name is Mohammed. They say this is not an indication of starvation for a couple of reasons. One, that boy has cerebral palsy and other genetic disorders. They say that, look at his mom and brother. They're not skinny like that. So clearly, this doesn't mean that there's starvation. They're saying, they're fine. This boy just has a disease. So, but what they don't tell us is because he has a disease, can he access medicine? Because aid means medicine too. Can he get the treatment he needs? Is the hospitals he's used to attending, are they still standing? President Trump acknowledged that people in Gaza are starving. He said that there are barriers to aid put up by whoever. He can't say who put those barriers up. He just says whoever. But he says the starvation is not fake. Watch.
It's going to be working with the United States. We'll be helping with the food. We have a lot of access to food. We got a lot of food ourselves. And we're going to bring it over there. We're also going to make sure that they don't have barriers stopping people. You've seen the areas where they actually have food. And the people are screaming for the food, and they're 35, 40 yards away. And they won't let them because they have lines that are set up. And whether they're set up by Hamas or whoever, but they're very strict lines, so we have to get rid of those lines. But we're going to be getting some good, strong food. We can save a lot of people. I mean, some of those kids that's real starvation stuff. I see it. And you can't fake that.
Okay, you can't fake it, he says. Okay, so he's saying it's not propaganda, even though pro-Israel influencers are saying it is. Now, he knows who put the barriers up. He absolutely knows because the United States worked with Israel in order to set up this aid. Here's the Wall Street Journal talking about the barriers set up by Israel through the Gaza Health Foundation. They kicked out the United Nations because they said that they were aligned with Hamas. Now, Israel and the United States have set up these barriers, these aid stations, all four of them, in all of Gaza. Even the Wall Street Journal says you never know when they're going to be open. They don't announce it. There's no reliable times. They say they'll open more. They don't say when. And when they are open, the IDF has fully admitted to firing machine guns and artillery into civilian crowds. Here they say, if we fire these rifles and machine guns into the crowd, they said, we try to not kill them, but if we do, we try and learn from the incident to reduce harm. Sometimes we kill them. And a quick reminder of why they have to distribute food aid. Because Israel began the war after October 7th by systematically dismantling the food systems in Gaza. This, too, is not conspiracy. This is a report from Israeli soldiers called Breaking the Silence. It's about the perimeter. It details the grunt work of destroying agriculture, farms, livestock, and all food factories at the start of the war. They could feed themselves before this, but they can't now. Now, journalist Glenn Greenwald reports that they even don't let people fish, even though Gaza is on the sea, that the IDF will shoot at people if they go and try and get some fish to eat. So even if we put the images aside as propaganda, we do still have proof of forced starvation, purposeful, because the food systems were dismantled. Now European leaders are saying, okay, this is enough to watch. We're now going to recognize the state of Palestine. France did this last week. They were the first in Europe. And now UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is saying that he is poised to do the same. Watch.
So today, as part of this process towards peace, I can confirm the UK will recognise the state of Palestine by the United Nations General Assembly in September, unless the Israeli government takes substantive steps to end the appalling situation in Gaza, agree to a ceasefire, and commit to a long-term sustainable peace.
Why unless, do you think? Like, The two-state solution has long since been the diplomatic philosophy of the United States and Europe. And in fact, the United States has long since supported this, but this week the United Nations is having a meeting explicitly to explore the two-state solution. And the United States is saying we're boycotting it. We're not going to go because it's what they call a publicity stunt. So what are we supposed to make of this? The two-state solution is our literal diplomatic philosophy, but we won't go. Well, joining us to discuss this is Max Blumenthal. He is the editor at The Gray Zone and someone who's been speaking out about this for a long time before it was hip. So, Max, given what I just said, that we're being told, no, this is propaganda, is there any way that this is propaganda and we can just abscond ourselves from it?
Well, propaganda is a neutral term. Everything's propaganda. I mean, you can call me a propagandist. The question is it true? And it's about time we got some propaganda about the genocide that's been going on in Gaza for over 21 months. Now the American public is starting to wake up to the reality because it is dramatized in a way that kind of meshes with their understanding of humanitarian crises, and that the weakest people in Gaza, who could in no way be considered militants, are emaciated, and they're witnessing the worst images they've ever seen in their lives. And so the Israeli response is propaganda of their own, and it's propaganda that's very revealing about their own intentions. I mean, the intention, let's just say this is propaganda. The intention behind it is to enact a ceasefire and end human suffering. The intention behind the Israeli propaganda is to continue the military assault, annexation, and ethnic cleansing in Gaza. And there is a final solution at play here. And starvation is a weapon being used to consolidate Israel's ultimate ethno-supremacist plan in Gaza. So first, the Israeli propaganda with these emaciated children. They say that they do not have good genes. Unlike Sydney Sweeney, these children, they don't have good genes. Okay, yeah. Let's say they have genetic disorders, or they have cerebral palsy, or some kind of treatable but not curable disease from birth. These are the first kinds of people in any humanitarian crisis who die, and they are the ultimate predictors of famine. And what the Israelis are saying is these are the Untermenschen, and they essentially deserve to die, and we should not be concerned with them at all. That's what they're saying. And so disregard these images, which are telling us that a famine is taking place in which it's not only food, it's also sanitation. All the sanitation systems have been destroyed. The water treatment plants have been deliberately attacked and destroyed by Israel. People's plumbing is gone, and they're living in tents. Where can you go to the bathroom there without transmissible disease? There is thirst, and there is a lack of medicine. Israel, for the last 6 to 8 weeks, has been keeping baby formula out of Gaza. So you see the sickest children are on the verge of death or are dying. The next stage is the poorest, and they are losing weight massively. And then you have to ask yourself, why would so many people, thousands and thousands of men, mostly young men every day, risk their lives going across a war zone, getting attacked by Israeli quadricopters, drones, tanks, soldiers sniping at them in order to reach one of these Gaza Humanitarian Foundation hubs just to get a box of food, what Trump says is good, strong food. And the reality is they're hungry. Even the Zionist propagandists that the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, this fake Israeli U.S. Trump-aligned fake aid group, even the propagandists they're bringing to their aid sites in Gaza are admitting that people coming there are very hungry. And I can talk about why they're hungry and how this is part of a much larger plan, which mirrors the plan of Nazi Germany to ethnically cleanse the Untermenschen from Europe.
Propaganda seems to be working, because even in our chat room right now, they're saying, well, Max, talk about Hamas. Hamas has been digging up all the water pipes, turning them into missiles. These are all Hamas So these are not, I just see it over and over again. Anytime we do a story like this, you'll always get a few people in the, comments that are like, it's all Hamas. It's all Hamas. These are all Hamas people that are there starving. What do you say to that? Can you answer that maybe once and for all?
I mean, Israeli officials, like a raft of Israeli officials, have confirmed to the New York Times that Hamas was not stealing aid. Reuters has just done a report on how Hamas was not stealing the aid. Under the Biden administration, there were directives in which Israel was given the green light to attack Hamas police and kill Hamas municipal workers, meaning anyone affiliated with the government of Gaza who were protecting the aid. And the point was to destroy the UN aid system, in which there were 400 aid hubs throughout Gaza, because they didn't want people to be able to stay in northern Gaza, and because the UN, UNRWA specifically, was tending to a population of refugees, and Israel seeks to negate them as refugees and eliminate the Palestinian nation and the Palestinian struggle. So you attack the main international body that's providing them with schooling, with housing, with food as an institution, erase it from Gaza. And then who have they brought in? They have brought in a guy named Yasser Abu Shabab, who is from a Bedouin clan of notorious drug traffickers and smugglers. And if you just do a simple search on the name Yasser Abu Shabab, and you will see that he is one of the most notorious thieves of aid, along with his clan, which has even been denounced by his little gang has been denounced by his own family because of his theft of aid and selling it on the black market. He is working directly hand in glove with the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. He is being protected by the Israeli military in Western Rafah next to one of their hubs. And he basically is the hired muscle for this criminal operation, which has eliminated the UN and seeks to enact regime change and put an ISIS-aligned drug smuggler in charge of the Gaza Strip under the watch of Israel, the same way they did in Syria, where they put an al-Qaeda-aligned goon in charge of the country in order to basically stand down in the face of U.S.-Israeli empire. The same project is at play in Gaza. And he was just given space. It's not like he wrote it. A PR firm was hired to write an op-ed for Yasser Abu Shabab in the Wall Street Journal on behalf of this criminal humanitarian sham. I mean, just imagine that. Like an ISIS smuggler penned an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal. There's no way you or I could get an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal. But if we were doing...
if you're Jolani in Syria, you could probably get one. Yeah.
Jolani, any ISIS or Al-Qaeda thug who agrees to work with Israel can get space in the Wall Street Journal.
Amazing. Now, you posted this not too long ago about the CNN clip showing that Americans are just not having it. They do not support Israel in this war any longer the way they once did. They do not support Netanyahu. They absolutely don't want to see this continue to go on. We are upset about watching people, like the idea that families are starving because we're humans. And you say that Israel's running out of Hasbara tricks. For people who don't know, that's their sort of way to mansplain, for lack of a better term. It's like mansplaining on behalf of the idea for the Israeli government. You say a serious reckoning, though, is coming for Israel. What do you think that means? Because it feels to me like they're just going to keep getting to do what they want to do. So what do you think that reckoning would look like?
Yeah, they'll probably be able to keep doing what they want to do. But that's going to create or contribute to the political crisis that we're witnessing in our own country. One that I really welcome because it highlights the contradictions in our supposed liberal democracy. Now, first of all, that tweet that you mentioned was me just tweeting a clip of a CNN pollster explaining that Netanyahu's approval rating in the U.S. among young people is like barely at double digits. Like he's almost comprehensively hated by everyone under 35, and the general public widely disapproves of Netanyahu. This is someone who's brought to Congress and cheered on like he's our real leader. He gets more standing ovations when he comes to Congress than any U.S. president by both parties. And it just feels like he's in charge. But if you ask the average American person, they're disgusted with what they're seeing because the corporate and mainstream media is finally showing them what Israel has been doing for over 660 days. I mean, Israeli propagandists are denying that some emaciated child is really sick. Well, what about the hundreds of children who they've sniped in the head and had doctors come back from Gaza with X-ray images, brain scans showing bullets in their heads? They try to deny everything, and the media is finally showing it. You see celebrities speaking out like never before. It's sort of entering the conscience of normie American society for the first time, and there's no one else to blame but Netanyahu. But as long as they keep the aid going, the military aid flowing, and Donald Trump calls for Gaza to be cleaned out, his own approval rating is collapsing among young people too. We're going to see a clash in the political sphere between what the American voter wants, and especially younger people, and the subjects of Netanyahu's ethno-supremacist bribery network known as AIPAC in the country. And they're going to have to repress us more. They're going to have to censor us more. They're going to have to criminalize us more if we try to push back. And we just saw what happened at Columbia University, where the Trump administration threatening to pull $400 billion of federal funds from Columbia, which mostly would go to like advanced research. Columbia has agreed to pay $21 million to some of the most privileged members of our society, some of the most privileged people in human history. They're Jewish professors and staffers who claim that they were hurt and attacked because students protested against genocide. And the names of those Jewish professors and staffers is being kept secret, so we can't scrutinize whether they're making up hate crimes and inventing their psychological oppression. I mean, this is like wokeism on steroids. It's DEI to the extreme, and it's the Trump administration doing it on behalf of a foreign apartheid state. And everybody can see that, and it's causing disruptions on the left, where you see New Yorkers voting for Mamdani for mayor. And it's happening on the right, where Marjorie Taylor Greene has become the first Republican member of Congress to call what Israel is doing in Gaza a genocide. And she's doing it 2 years after she led the charge to censor Rashida Tlaib for doing the same. So things are changing on the right and the left.
I want to get your take before we let you go, Max, which is on the Palestinian, the idea of a Palestinian state. You're hearing from the French government on that. Keir Starmer saying September, we're going to come out, support full Palestinian state unless the starving ends. So the starving may wrap up and that will end. But of course, we're never going to get to September. Do you believe we'll ever get to September where you're going to see Europe put a stamp of approval on a Palestinian state?
Obviously, Israel doesn't want this because Israel wants to negate the existence of Palestinians as a national group, and they're condemning this. But this is also empty rhetoric, and it's kicking the can down the road. What needs to be done is to end military aid to Israel and end foreign investment in Israel in order to force an end to the killing. And neither Keir Starmer, who's directing spy flights over Gaza, sharing intelligence with the Israeli Air Force from a British military base in Cyprus, or Emmanuel Macron, who has supplied Israel with bundles of offensive weaponry, neither of them are doing anything material to stop this. So this is, more rhetoric in the failed international realm. At the same time, Netanyahu is just charging ahead with a final solution. And I didn't really address this before, but it needs to be emphasized. The reason that the one main Gaza Humanitarian Foundation aid hub is in the south of Gaza, and the reason that starvation has been imposed, one of the main reasons, is to lure as many people to the south as possible because it's near Egypt. And Israel aims to ethnically cleanse the population out of Egypt. And first, what it will do, as its defense minister, Israel Katz, has explicitly announced, is place 500,000 people, everyone in the south, in a concentration camp. And the only way they can leave is through Egypt. Israel explicitly laid out plans for a concentration camp. The final solution is taking place before our eyes. This is the crime of the century, and we're witnessing it in a way we've never witnessed any atrocity or human rights crime before.
Hopefully we're breaking through the willful ignorance. You're right. And what's going to happen in Rafah and the money that's flowing into Egypt right now, and all of these people that are making so much money off of the construction of these concentration camps. There's lots of billions floating right now into these Egyptian land builders and construction contractors there. So,
and testing
Max,
new technologies on this population that will be exported. And hey, if we get a little bit uppity, they might try it on us.
Right. They already are.
Right.
Yeah, the biosurveillance state. Max Blumenthal, read The Gray Zone. If you want the truth, unfettered truth, our friend Max and the team over at The Gray Zone do an amazing job. Thank you, Max.
Thanks a lot, guys. Good seeing you.